You only know when you're loved when you're being yourself, and you're loved anyway. If you're anybody else and you're loved, there will always be an insecurity, because the day you decide to actually be courageous and present yourself as who you are, then that love is tested. Putting myself out there is something I really need to do more of and become more visible. I think what I've learned is you do have to risk rejection to get anywhere. And end of the day, I think if we get over, I think when you're rejected once or twice and you're like, okay, that wasn't that bad, right, we can move on. But it's the fear of rejection itself that holds us back rather than being rejected. Finding somebody who is doing what you would like to do is a good thing to do. Very likely they will have a story or stories that are similar to yours. This is something that I wish I was told 10 years ago. Find that person who will, one, encourage you, and two, tell you when you are messing up. In this day and age, people just value authenticity. It's the uniqueness of you that draws people to you. Time is of essence. I feel like time is like collapsing now, it's condensing, and maybe it's the age thing, but it feels like a week is no longer a week, so move, because time is of essence.
Have you ever had a dream that was so strong, but that you buried? Maybe something from your childhood, but somewhere along the way you told yourself, maybe it doesn't matter that much. Or maybe life got busy and you started to wonder if you were even allowed to chase those dreams. Our guest today, Unoma Okudo, knows exactly what this feels like. She's a Nigerian singer-songwriter and also a mental health professional, and her voice has graced the Commonwealth Games and she has sung for global artists like Susan Boyle. But guess what? Unoma didn't start there. For several years, she doubted her own voice, she questioned her songs, and she battled perfectionism, which almost kept her silent. In this episode, Unoma shares about finding the courage to put yourself out there, how to risk rejection, and how to choose growth over approval. Honestly, her story might just be the push you need to start your own dreams, because your dreams are valid too. See you in the episode. Could you talk to me a bit about your journey of creating music but also having the courage to put it out there? How do you go about that? What's the journey been like there?
I would say that it's something I still struggle with. I think I call myself a recovering perfectionist, gosh, because it is really bad. When I do something, I want it to be really, really good. And that is a good thing, but then if it's at the expense of trying and failing, even if it's publicly, that's a problem. I think, okay, I'll speak honestly. One of the biggest hang-ups for me was being a Christian. I wasn't sure if I had permission to write music that wasn't exclusively sacred. And I really struggled with that because I love worship music. I lead worship. I feel very free in worship. I feel purpose in worship. But at the same time, I've always felt that the divide between church and, in quote, the world, even the way he said, the world, I just never have agreed with that. And I've never understood why we want to impact culture from behind, like church walls, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, and I just felt that. So that was a big one for me. And I really grappled with that. And eventually when I decided, okay, this is okay and God's okay with that, blah, blah, I was like, okay, let's write the songs. And I was like, some of the things I was writing just didn't feel, people don't write like that, and you're wanting to stick to what pop says and stuff like that, because there are like 4 pop stars that you want to be like, and they're the only ones that exist in this whole world. But a couple things that made me break free from that to a large extent is just finding your tribe, people who celebrate you, honestly. I have spoken about my husband like 10 times today, but genuinely, because he's a bit of a renegade, and he's so encouraging, it's just like, just go for it. So that was really, really helpful. Putting myself out there is something I really need to do more of and become more visible. I think what I've learned is you do have to risk rejection to get anywhere. And end of the day, I think if we get over, I think when you're rejected once or twice and you're like, okay, that wasn't that bad, right, we can move on. But it's the fear of rejection itself that holds us back rather than being rejected. And I think if I could tell my younger self 10 years from now is anything, it would be, you're okay to fail. Just do it. Fail quickly and fail early so that you can discover what works for you and who you are and what's not. It's in the failure that you actually discover what's authentic anyway. And then you just kind of move into that. I don't think I've fully broken free from imposter syndrome. I'm right now recording an album and I'm really battling it. It's still there. It's still like, am I good enough? Blah, blah, blah. But another thought that I hold on to is that you're not for everybody. I will write songs for people that need to hear it, and I just have to trust that whoever I'm writing is going to bless them the way it's supposed to. And I can't control that. As I'm a control freak. Just trying to break that perfectionism thing has been a bit of a work, trying to undo that for whatever reason. So yeah, those are my thoughts right now, just thinking off the cuff.
Yeah, and what would you say motivates you to keep on pursuing this areas in your life right now? Because I know you mentioned you've been singing since you were in like primary school or something.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think I was sharing this with a couple of people. No, somebody actually 2 weeks ago. Last year, I wasn't doing much music. I wasn't really singing. I wasn't writing. And it got to the point where I actually really felt like I was dying. I know it sounds really dramatic, but my husband and I were talking and he didn't know how bad it was. I was like, Daddy, I can't do this anymore. I need to do this. So in a sense, I have to do it for my own survival. Oh, that sounds... I'm such an artist. Such an artist. Oh, the world rising above me. But genuinely, I really need to. Like, it's who I've been made to be. And if I'm not being that thing, everything else is just a bit fake. And I might be ticking boxes that look good, but I lie down at night and I have to answer to myself and actually, God, what am I doing with what's been put in my hand? And I think when you've tasted that thing that makes you feel so alive and so free and so happy, it's just like, well, everything else kind of pales in comparison, right? So that's something that kind of keeps motivating me. My faith in God, actually. I have a mandate and I have to kind of do it. So come on, Unoma, let's do it. But it really is love. It's love. It's just I actually need to create, or else it's just not worth it, you know? Yeah.
It's like there's a space inside that just feels empty when you don't do it.
Agreed.
Okay, talking about the podcast, Travelite. When did you first get the idea about starting a podcast? And just walk us through the journey from then until now.
Okay, so fun fact, I work in mental health, I work in psychiatry. My journey into that is also one to laugh about. And I just, I love that. I love seeing people walk in freedom in that area. And sometimes it might be just a word, or it could be leading them to the right therapist or the right medication or whatever to get people to be in the right place. So I worked in psychiatry for 8 years or so. And I'm a Christian, and I found that in the church we don't do mental health well. There's a lot of prayer, and those things are good and actually do impact your mental health, actually. But when we were talking about the real hard conversations about grief, about loss, about trauma, about envy, jealousy, relationships, how are you actually doing? Burnout, stress, we are terrible at that. And I think the soul, so in church we would describe the soul as the thing in you that carries your emotions, your will, your passions, and all that stuff. Such a big part of who you are, yet we pretend it doesn't exist. And I just want to get rid of that and fix it, really. It's figuring out how do we marry that? How do we bring in the expertise from psychiatry and the mental health world and things, but also honoring the spirit realm and spirituality and Jesus? How do those things intersect, and how do we live out emotional freedom? So that's why I started it. And the more I speak to people, the more I'm like, actually, we don't talk about this at all, one of the jokes my friend and I make is we ask you, how are you doing in church? Is like, I'm blessed. I'm like, are you though? Are you though?
Really?
And then, yeah, you really like, how are you, you know? And yeah, I've seen too much mess that happens because we don't want to address these topics, essentially.
Why do you think we don't talk about it a lot?
We've been sold a bit of a lie, one, that the earth as we know it doesn't matter. Heaven is all that matters. But I do think that comes from what I would call Gnosticism, where there is like a divide between heaven and earth. Actually, no. Jesus came, I'm preaching now, guys, I'm sorry.
Go for it.
I know. Jesus came from heaven to earth to almost, yeah, he came to redeem it to himself, but he didn't demonize it, he embraced it. So we can't do that. We can't be like, oh, every human experience is demonic. No, it needs to be redeemed and it needs to be loved back into God's way of being, essentially. So when I'm going to heaven minded, it's just everything you're doing is a weird work to achieve that pinnacle of spirituality. But actually, heaven's meant to be part of our journey on earth. And the soul has been demonized. It's like spirit, yes, pray, fast, all that stuff, which I have to stress, important. But we don't talk about, we're okay with our bodies, but even that is a bit shifty. Because you see people who are hardcore Christians dying of diabetes because they won't take care of their body. And I'm like, there's something wrong, something's wrong there. But that's that, again, that dualism. It's like there's spirit, there is earth, and we just pay attention to spirit. But I don't think, if you're paying attention to the spirit, it will impact the stuff on earth anyway. And the soul has been demonized a lot. So don't be a soulish person, be spirit-led. Don't be an emotional person, be spirit-led. But the emotions are there, so how do we process them? So even if they are wrong and unhealthy, how do we deal with that? Because they're not going anywhere. So it's figuring out how we navigate that, you know? And in the podcast, I talk about like Jesus walking on earth. Jesus cried, Jesus laughed, Jesus went to a party with his friends, Jesus turned water to wine. Like he was actually human. He didn't demonize those aspects of humanity, but in fact, he celebrated that, you know? And I just love, even again, preaching again still, guys, his friend dies and he knows he's going to raise him back to life, but he still chose to grieve. But sometimes we almost like grief is sin. No, grief is an important process that we have to go through. Of course, if it becomes pathological, then it's a problem, but it's actually important as you navigate loss and trauma. So it's just thinking about having these conversations. That's why I think, sorry, the question you asked is why we don't talk about it. I think that's why we have a wrong image about God and about who we are, even as we navigate our earth journey. So that's what I think.
I think what you just said just reminds me of, I think I was listening to a podcast the other week, and it was this same thing about your emotions were put there by God. It's not just you're a spirit being, but you also have the soul and the body. So it's that triangle. And you're right, there's been just that focus on the spirit and, oh, your emotions, don't talk about it, just leave it, just believe in God, just do, yes, but those are also important. Those need to be talked about, those need to be addressed. And like you said, it's about transitioning that back to God and seeing how that can help you in your walk with God and all of that, not just leaving it aside and say, oh, I'm fine, my spirit is fine,
I'm blessed.
my soul is fine. I'm blessed, exactly.
Highly favored.
Wow, that's profound. Just rewinding a bit back onto that idea of putting ourselves out there a bit more, and I was just quite keen to hear from your perspective. Why do you think, despite the fact that we know these things, so like we know that, well, you know, we are all unique and we've all got a unique contribution to the world, and we can all give our unique selves, be yourself and all of that, we still sometimes struggle with the idea of rejection, with the idea of, am I good enough? Do I measure up to people's standards? So I find this, so I made a commitment this year to post every week on LinkedIn on Thursdays, every single week. And I've found that even though that commitment is there, if not for that commitment, honestly, if I was judging by the projection of my thoughts around, would people like this? Is this good enough? I perhaps wouldn't post. I think to myself, Samuel, you've been doing this for quite a while. This is not new. So it's almost as if that feeling, at least for me, I don't know if it's the same for you, it
100%.
never goes old. I was talking with a guest on the show, Nike, for Lion, and she was saying, even just coming to speak on the podcast is for her, is courageous, because like you bring courage into everything you do, and you're just expressing your thoughts. Now people could misunderstand that, so I was just liking to maybe hear you speak a little bit more, maybe from your perspective, and also from, I don't know, a psychiatric perspective, a medical perspective. Why do you think that is that's the feeling to avoid rejection, such a powerful force, despite knowing mentally?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why emotions are important, right? Because we can think things and we know what fact or truth there is. But when your heart doesn't align with what you're thinking, it's really difficult to break out of that. I think a lot of us will have some story of rejection from our childhood that we can, if we're honest with ourselves, probably still drives a lot of our decisions. I mean, I can think of one, like I once did a Easter concert when I was 8. I forgot my words on stage and I ended up crying on stage myself and had to be rescued by my teacher and head teacher. And things like that. So sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm singing, so that does happen. And human beings, we are, whether we like it or not, we are social beings. We want to be accepted and liked, and unfortunately, that's a good thing, wanting to be loved and known and accepted by your peers. Well, unfortunately, that gets perverted, and we then, rather than actually, how do I put it this way? You only know when you're loved when you're being yourself, and you're loved anyway.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
If you're anybody else and you're loved, there will always be an insecurity, because the day you decide to actually be courageous and present yourself as who you are, then that love is tested. So, so it's that fear. It does. I love the word you use, courage. It is courageous to be who you are and go for the things you're going for. I'm going to also, and let me segue a little bit. I think everybody struggles with what we're talking about. And when we see someone going for that thing or being bold and being who they are and being themselves, you can either have two, in my opinion, have two responses to that. You can either be inspired and do the same thing, or you get envious because you know that it could be you, but you just haven't mustered that courage yet. So I'll propose that a lot of people who are, the people who were afraid of rejecting us are also actually, it's them, they're mirroring, it's the same fear. And then rather than looking inwards and figuring out how they can also do the same thing that you're trying to do, it's much easier to criticize and to pull down. But actually, if we all realize that when we all decide to go after those things that God's put in us, our dreams, or pursue those goals and things, that when we do it, what we're doing is that we're helping to usher everybody together.
Amen.
It means that actually we can all go and encourage and support and push because everyone has their own destiny. But actually, it's fear that drives all this stuff. It's fear of rejection. And then when we then see someone doing it, because I've done that before, seeing someone going for something, and then I'm like, oh yeah, we'll see how far you go. You know, that kind of thing.
I have as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but what that is me going, oh man, I wish I had that same thing, but I'm not pursuing it because I'm afraid. But let me see you do it first, and then if you do it, then I can. But actually, let's all do it and let's fall flat on our faces and just keep going anyway.
Yeah.
Well, finding your tribe is important. Finding those people who actually do believe in you, which is, that's an important one.
Wow.
Hope that answered that.
Yeah, you actually answered the question I was going to ask after that, which was around what do you think folks could do? Maybe someone listening right now, just one person who's got these dreams of doing something, putting themselves out there. Now, what small baby steps have you taken in the past that just pushed you a little bit more? You're like, oh, it's not that bad after all.
I think finding somebody who is doing what you would like to do is a good thing to do. Very likely they will have a story or stories that are similar to yours, and there's something about, and I love, that's why stories that shape us. What a name! People who have gone there ahead of you and they're like, okay, I fell, broke an ankle, but I lived.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Thank you. Do it anyway. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And this is something that I wish I was told 10 years ago. Find a mentor. Find a mentor. Find that person who will, one, encourage you and two, tell you when you are messing up. There's something that's safe about that, knowing that there's a home you go to. Not everybody's parents are going to be supportive. Not everyone's parents are going to cheer you on. Sometimes the biggest battles will be in your family, actually, when you're deciding to do those things. So find that person. I had to pay for a coach because I was like, look, I'm stuck. What's going on? And he's so brutal. He just tells you as it is. And that's why I trust him. I know that I can't get away with anything. And you don't have to pay for that. There's, honestly, who said it? Someone said it really well. You can be coached, you can be mentored by someone through their book. Like John Maxwell, I've never met before, but my gosh, he's spoken many times to me, But a mentor is a good thing, someone to do.
Sure.
Excuse me. And I would say as well, okay, the way my brain's wired, I like to plan steps. But as a creative, you can't do that, unfortunately. But what I would say to you is if you're that way wired, just do the next thing. And everything will make sense eventually. Finding like-minded people is another one. If you are a creative, you will find that people are struggling with the same thing you are.
Yeah.
And there's something inspiring about when you're all doing it together.
Yes.
Yeah. There's strength in numbers, really.
Yeah.
Isn't there?
I think this is one of the reasons why I also like the idea of people telling more of their stories and their journeys. Because I think sometimes, particularly the next generation of people that are maybe younger and look at someone who succeeded and all of that, they just see all the glitter and all the glam and all this stuff, and they're like, this doesn't match with my own reality. I was talking to Christopher Ward. So he started this Instagram channel called Model Strangers. And he goes to strangers on the streets, takes a picture of them and asks about their journey. He's doing so well. I think he's got 600,000 followers or something. He's doing so well. And I was asking him about his process, and he was like, his hands actually shake sometimes. He was like, thinking, is this good enough? And he said something that maybe you could speak about as we start to wrap this episode up. He was like, when he had just 50 or 60 followers, I post what I think is best. But with success comes the added pressure of wanting to satisfy that. Is that something you've sort of dealt with in the past? And what's your experience with that being like?
It's real because I think when you see numbers and I guess it's the higher up you climb, the fewer you are anyway. And I guess when you get to the top of something, the threat of a fall or the potential consequences of a fall seem much graver, right? So if you fell from the top of Ben Nevis as opposed to the beginning step, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's there. But I've just found it's what took you there that will keep you there. And I think especially in this day and age, people just value authenticity. Honestly, if you're yourself, you are the selling point now. Because I've been through that. You're trying to post on Instagram. You're trying to use flowery language, and I've done that before. And then honestly, no post. I'm like, wow, all that work. But sometimes I just show up. I look a little bit crazy in the photo, and it's like, oh yeah, great. I'm like, what? I didn't. Yeah. So it's the uniqueness of you that draws people to you. So I'm telling myself this now because I do really often forget. So what took you there will keep you there. If you had to be a weird, strange version of yourself, then there's something to worry about. But if you were who you are, and you were creating, and you're just expressing God, and then it's totally fine. But I love that person shared that. That's that's actually helped me because I have 1,000 followers. I'm like, Lord, what am I going to put today? But it's so true.
Yeah. When you said it, I was really because I thought you possibly could not be dealing with this. It has to be just me. And it's like you said, it's until you start to speak to other people that you realize. Yeah. Right. Do you have any questions there?
I think my question is more about, at the beginning you mentioned you've had to evolve and go through various phases. Like, how did you know it was time to move on or pick something new or start a new project? Like, how did you know that?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a really good question. I'll tell you why. Because I am one of these people that I get a project and I'll just stick to it and I'll just stay there and there and there. But I have learned that when I'm getting frustrated, when I'm I don't really get bored easily because I'm that kind of, oh, let's keep going, stickler type thing. I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting very critical. I'm getting disillusioned. I'm like, okay, there's something else that I need to move into, or there is a bigger change on this thing that I have to do to take it to the next level. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, sometimes it's taking some people bringing in actual prophetic word. You are meant to do this. You are meant to do this. But I have to say, more in the last few years, when those kind of words come, I've actually been like, yeah, I kind of knew that, but I've just been too afraid to step into that. But I would say that it's been getting it feels a bit mundane. The sparkle isn't there anymore. We've done this so many times. It's got too easy now. Oh, I'm the best at this thing. Okay, no, that's a problem. Let's go do something else that's going to challenge you because you need to be a small fish, or is it a small fish in a big pond, rather than the opposite, where oh yeah, I got this. Like, it shouldn't be too easy all the time. There should be something way like I like to work out and I lift weights and stuff, and then you get to that point where it's so easy. You're not breaking a sweat anymore, but you're like all the numbers look good on paper, and then my trainer's like, "What's this? Why are we still here?" You know what I mean? Meaning, no. Every time you go, it should feel a little more challenging than it did the day before. And yeah, so I think that's actually the gym has helped because I'm like, oh yeah, this is what it feels like to bust it. And if you're not feeling like you're challenged, there's a problem because there's more on the other side. You need to push yourself a little bit more for the next thing.
That's deep. That's really deep. And wow, I'm still processing that. So.
Yeah. As we move to the final phase, this is more reflective part of the podcast. And we've got, I think, 2 or 3 questions here, and that's us done. Thank you so much, Unoma.
No, thank you.
This has been a very insightful, interesting conversation.
Deep conversation.
Deep stuff.
Deep.
So, question 1 in this reflective phase. As you look back on your life's journey, what are you most grateful for?
As much as I am very much I tend to be very solitary, I'm really grateful for people that God's put in my way, particularly at crisis points, because I'm like the problem solver, so I never tell people what's going on. Like, I got it together. But I'm grateful for people at very strategic points who've just kind of either helped protect me or guide me or push me. The push one especially. Like, don't stay here, you need to move. You've got too comfortable. I would say people. I can't think of anything else.
Right.
The other things, I'm trying. You're making me narrow things down. I would say people.
People.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those people, they know themselves.
Any question there, or?
Well, I think for me, there's a similarity in terms of solitude and just being by yourself. And how do you tend to balance that out with being the social you and also trying to meet people and take opportunities of people that bring into your life. God brings into your life, rather. What's that balance for you?
I'll be honest, I have to schedule in. I have to actually make a concerted effort to meet people, or else I could be in my house for 7 days and I don't think I would care. It's not good. Tell me off, guys. Tell me off.
That's bad.
You know what I'm talking about, though. I could generally be by myself and I would be thoroughly entertained, just thinking and writing and reading and watching Gossip Girl.
We had that.
You know what I mean? So I have to make an effort. I have to schedule in, and right now I'm in that place where I'm having to dig myself back out of, okay, you've been by yourself way too much. You need to actually reach out to people and things like that. Yeah. So that's what I have to I do. I put it on my list. Call such and such. Meet up with this person for lunch, or else I don't think I would. Which is terrible. I'm outing myself.
But it shows you're being intentional about that.
Yeah, that's true.
Progress.
I'm growing, guys.
Yeah.
Evolving.
You're progressing, so that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And last question from myself. I'm still in the reflective phase. So there was a question I wanted to ask you earlier, but you answered it, and that is what advice you'd give to maybe 18-year-old Unoma. And you mentioned about, if I remember correctly, to something around putting herself out there and remaining true to who she was, but still having that courage to put herself out there. Now, so I like to flip the question as well. So imagine if 80-year-old Unoma was listening to this right now, right? So not 18, 80, and she was listening back to this conversation. What is something you'd want her to remember? Or something you'd want to say to her?
Is this like advice or a
Anything.
celebration?
And it could be a celebration, it could be an advice, it could be a song, it could be anything. But just something that you'd want her to hear at 80 listening back to this.
Oh, this is so cheesy. What I'm thinking, I would say to myself.
Say it, go for it.
Say it.
Say it.
It's so cheesy.
Go for it.
I think I genuinely would say, I would say, I'm so proud of you. I can't believe you did it.
That's not so cheesy, though. No?
Isn't that cheesy?
No.
Sounds like a movie moment. Next. I think I would say that. I'm proud of you. Well done.
Oh, wow.
You did it. I hope. Maybe that's my prayer rather than... What else did I say to myself? So this is me telling myself, hold on.
So imagine you were listening to an episode or a podcast from 18-year-old Unoma.
Yes.
And there's something that she told you back then that you're like, wow, okay, this is something she wanted me to know at this point in my life.
Oh, that's hard.
No, it could just be anything.
I would probably time is of essence. Move it. Yeah.
Time is of essence.
Time is of essence. Move it.
Time is of essence.
Yeah. Yeah, time is, I feel like time is like collapsing now, it's condensing, and maybe it's the age thing, but it feels like a week is no longer a week.
Yeah.
And I think that's getting worse or better, however way you want to look at it. So move, because time's of essence.
Move.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I would say too.
Time is of essence. Move.
Yeah.
Move it.
Move.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Any questions from you?
No. In the next few years, what are some things that you look forward to doing or being, and
Okay.
yeah.
I'm looking forward to being a mother, by God's grace. Looking forward to growing Travel Light and join a community and really, really changing the conversation around mental health. I look forward to releasing multiple albums. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. And yeah, I look forward to finding out what else is left on tap that I'm not even aware of right now. And I really do believe that there's more. Yeah, because I didn't know that it was until I started actually doing so and creating. So yeah, those are the things. I like that question.
Oh.
See?
It was great you asked.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for folks listening, we'll put the Travel Lights podcast links in the show notes, one of our social media handles, our Spotify page as well. So please do listen in, support, give some feedback, engage with her content. I've listened to I've watched a few shots of the Travel Lights podcast, and I was like, wow, this is gold. This is gold. But honestly, Unoma, thank you so much for coming on our show. It's been such a delight and honor.
Yes, you're a delight.
Oh,
Wink,
thank
wink.
you.
Thank you so much for watching this conversation with Unoma. If her story spoke to you, don't miss out this next episode with Ruth. At 73 years old, Ruth looks back on her life and shares the advice she wishes she had gotten when she was younger. Everything from wisdom on ignoring negativity to staying true to yourself to making the most of every single day. So click here to watch that video next, and don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring conversations like this. See you on the other side.